Hi, I'm Jodie, and this morning I'm here with Nature Conservation Margaret River. We're meeting James Scott to go on a walk down at Barrett Street to learn how to ID native plants.
Shrub-wise, Calistachus, it's called native willow. We'll get up close to some native willow in a bit actually, up at the other stream that we're going up to. That's a lovely thing. It's a pea flower. Got very, very hairy pods. That's a nice way to find that one, and quite a big yellowy orange pea spike of flowers. Over the other side there's lots of, it's called Mobilia, and it hasn't got a common name like an awful lot of things that haven't got common names, but that really likes disturbance, and so you often see it where there's been a quarry or a car park or whatever. And there's a lot of it over the other side. So those would be the main things around here. Common understory is this little, it's a yellowy orange pea flower, very droopy branches. It's a lovely one. It's a Bossia. There's lots of these names again. And this one is Linafilla. This is one of our grevilleas. We've only got about 3 or 4 grevilleas in this area, the Margaret River area, and this one is one that loves the wet. Hakea prostrata, one of the many hakeas. It's called harsh hakea, which you can probably judge by its rather scratchy leaves, but that's a nice one there too. We've got a lot of hakeas, mostly white flowered in this area. Lepidospermum tetraquetrum, because it's got tetra, 4-sided stems. So that's quite a good one. It's an easy one to identify. It has a lovely pink pea flower in spring. Beautiful. And native again, it's sort of, you wonder, because it's it does like disturbance, so yes, in
pretty
places.
tough on the barefoot walker, this one.
And it is, yes, absolutely.
It's the only one that stops me.
But it's definitely native, it's fine. Don't
Mobilia.
And that is in Zamia plant, which are lovely, of course, and
Coming closer, easy to hear.
Macrozamia reedlii. They have male and female cones, so they're one of the coniferous early plants. In fact, well, conifers, but they're not quite. They are a family all on their own, and one of the really ancient lineages down here. Yep, male and female flowers, which mainly flower after fire, the cones, but not necessarily. And they are really interesting, and I don't really know any more about it than what I tell you now, is they are pollinated by weevils, and somehow they can adjust their temperature, and the weevils like it warm, I think, and the males tend to get a bit warmer and the weevils come onto them, and then they get cooler again, and the females sort of
Warm up.
develop more warm.
Wow.
Tell me if I'm wrong. But it's a leucopoke, and it's only one. That group has about 150, 200 different species in it, and although a bit less now because they've split some of them up. But this is the only one that looks like that. The others, they're called beard heaths, and they have little fluffy, tiny little flowers and little spikes. There's a few things here actually. We don't need to go very far at all. Just here we've got a bit of Treehovia coming, which is, most people will recognise it when it flowers. It has a lovely purple spike racemes of flowers. Pea flowers people get it mixed up with wisteria, with the climbing one. That's which is Hardenbergia is the scientific name. It's that is a climber. This one is a shrub. I love this. It's another one of these. It's a native, but it's got these broad leafed and they're hairy leaves, so they're okay in the summer. It does die back quite a bit in the summer, and it has just fairly sparse little purple flowers, but they're really lovely. Tremandra. It's a Tremandra. Acacia Murtifolia, one of our many wattles, and this one is a very common one in the Jarrah forest, Jarrah and Marri forest. Mostly again Marries here. I'm looking for a Jarrah. Unassuming little shrub, and you might think that's a weed, but it's not. It's called a Percularia. Don't worry about that. And there's a few different sorts. There's a climbing one, there's a few different ones like that. They have a little sort of green flower with sort of reddish stamens hanging down, and they're really sweet. I really like this, but as I say, it looks weedish, but it's not. Two of the acacias, wattles, which have the pinnate leaves with you know, the little leaflets going up the stem. A lot of the wattles start off like that. When you get the little tiny ones, they've got the pinnate leaves, and then later they lose those and they just have the phyllodes. But this is Gilbertia. It has a lovely little white flower, little pom-pom flowers in the summer, and it's one of the ones that keeps its pinnate leaves. And then the pods, because acacias are in a different, sometimes in a different family to the pea flowers, but they have pods, and these have very long, reddish, twisty pods, which are rather lovely. Yeah. That's the Acacia Murtifolia again, a young one. Oh, this is it's a weedy grass or something. It's not. It's sort of related. They're related to grasses. They're monocots, but they are. It's a Lemandra, and this particular one has male and female flowers. The difference, but they're very insignificant little flowers. But it's interesting, a lot of Lemandras, you might be familiar with Lemandras in your garden, which have come from the eastern states and apparently do tend to go weedy. They're not supposed to, they're supposed to be fairly inert, but I think in some places they've gone a bit weedy. But we have quite a lot of different ones, but they tend to be mainly small. Knobbly. What would you say? Crinkled. Crinkled is a nice word. And the flowers are different. And there's a lot of our wattles just have these rather lanceolate, elongated leaves. Yeah, Sydney golden wattle, once again, you've seen it, you get to know it.
And what's this one?
Well. And this is Acacia Murtifolia. We've had Bossia linifila, which is the one with the very weepy stems. And this is Bossia ornata, sort of brown and yellow, but really lovely big pea flowers. And it's very pretty. Broad-leafed brown pea. Very boring name for a really lovely plant. I love that one. Liperophyllums, it's native. Again, you sort of look at it twice and wonder if it's, what do you see? Let's just come past it. It's down here. It's got these broad glossy leaves, and you might wonder if that's weedy, but it's not. And it has it's a liperophyllum, like the one that we saw in the water. Sorry. This one has a yellow flower. Looks a little bit, if you're far away from it, looks like a little bit like a Gilbertia flower. But Taraxis, forgotten the species name, but there's only one of it anyway, and it's in that Restianaceae family. And the classic thing about this, it's very actually easy to identify, because it has these what you think are going to be the buds of flowers. They're not. They're galls. You know about galls? You get all sorts of different galls, which are fascinating, and they're insect driven. They're growths on plants, which are usually caused by insects, or sometimes it might just be a sort of a cancerous growth. Usually, again, not always, I don't think, because insects want somewhere to lay their eggs and for their larvae to be protected and have a food supply. But this one, it looks more like a flower bud, but they're covered in them, and I don't think I've ever seen the flowers, which are like all the restiads, just very insignificant little things that you don't notice. But the galls are really obvious. Is it a weed? Is it native? It is native. Bracken, Terribia mesculentum. And I think at the moment there's just one all over the world. There may well be one or two different species, but it's pretty much ubiquitous all over the world. However, it does have a weedy habit, again, when it's getting out of control in cleared areas. Farmers hate it because it's in the paddocks, and it's not good for the cattle. They don't like to use it anyway, but it's not good, and it takes over paddocks, and then it is weedy. But it is not a weed, it is native. So in the forest, it's, you do not see sort of usually a huge swathe of it. You just see it sort of in amongst all the other plants.